You think you're building bridges, but sometimes those bridges turn into chains. What if the love you're holding onto is slowly, silently destroying you? For most of us, connecting with others is like breathing. We crave it, we need it. It's what makes us feel safe, loved, and like we belong. From the moment we're born, we seek out attachment, a bond that gives our lives meaning. But there's a harsh truth many are forced to learn the hard way. Sometimes the very attachments we believe are giving us strength can become our greatest weakness. A heavy burden that steals our joy and leaves us feeling hollow. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this often unseen struggle, exploring the painful reality of unhealthy attachment, what it looks like, where it comes from, and most importantly, how to break free. So, what exactly are we talking about when we say unhealthy attachment? It's when those natural human connections cross a line, becoming something that's no longer about mutual growth and shared happiness, but about reliance, fear, and a desperate need for external validation. Imagine a healthy tree, firmly rooted, yet its branches reach out freely, swaying in the wind. Unhealthy attachment, however, is like a vine that wraps itself so tightly around another tree that it chokes it, and eventually both struggle to thrive. In this scenario, you become so intertwined with another person that their identity, their feelings, their very existence starts to define your own. Your self-worth becomes a fragile thing, placed entirely in their hands, leaving you constantly vulnerable to their whims, their moods, and their decisions. Your happiness isn't something you cultivate within yourself. It's a gift you expect someone else to bestow upon you, and that's a dangerous place to be. Unhealthy attachment isn't always obvious. It wears many masks, and often it's disguised as intense love or loyalty. But if you look closely, its true nature reveals itself through a series of painful patterns. One of the most agonizing manifestations is the fear of loss. This isn't just about missing someone. It's a gnawing, constant anxiety that grips you, making you dread the very thought of the relationship ending. You might find yourself constantly checking their social media, overthinking every text, or sacrificing your own plans just to be available, convinced that if you don't, they'll abandon you. You live in a state of hypervigilance, always on edge, interpreting innocent actions as signs of impending rejection. Sarah, a young woman I know, spent years in a relationship where she was terrified her partner would leave her. Every time he went out with friends, she'd call him relentlessly, fabricating emergencies just to hear his voice, convinced that if he wasn't constantly tethered to her, he'd find someone better. She wasn't living, she was just trying to prevent a dreaded future that only existed in her mind. Then there's the excessive need to please. This is where you become a chameleon, constantly shifting your colors to match the expectations of others. You lose your voice, your preferences, and your authentic self, all in a desperate bid to maintain the relationship. You say yes when you want to scream no. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You adopt their interests, their opinions, even their dreams, even if they contradict your own. The goal isn't genuine connection, but to avoid disapproval, to be good enough so they won't pull away. Think of Ahmed, a bright, aspiring artist who gave up his passion to pursue a more stable career path suggested by his parents and girlfriend. He believed if he didn't conform, he'd disappoint them and lose their affection. Years later, he felt a crushing sense of emptiness, staring at canvases gathering dust, realizing he had traded his soul for approval. Another dark aspect is control and domination. It might seem contradictory, but an intense fear of loss can lead to a desperate need to control the other person. You try to dictate their choices, their friends, their hobbies, even their thoughts, under the guise of caring or knowing what's best. You believe that by managing their world, you can prevent them from leaving or hurting you. This isn't about healthy influence, It's about suffocation. It's like building a cage around someone you claim to love, believing it will keep them safe, when in reality it just traps them and you along with them. This often comes from a place of deep insecurity, where you project your own fears onto the other person, imagining them to be as unstable or untrustworthy as you secretly feel yourself to be. Perhaps the most tragic manifestation is self-sacrifice. This goes beyond healthy compromise. It's about systematically dismantling your own life to integrate completely into another's. You abandon your dreams, your ambitions, your personal interests, and your identity, melting into their world until you become an echo of them. The result isn't fulfillment, but a profound sense of frustration, regret, and ultimately self-loathing. You wake up one day and realize you don't recognize yourself, or worse, you no longer exist outside of that relationship. This isn't love, it's self-erasure. And finally, when these patterns are in full swing, you often find yourself drowning in anger and frustration, because you've placed all your eggs in someone else's basket, when they inevitably fail to meet your impossible expectations, because no one can fulfill another person's entire emotional needs. You feel deeply hurt, betrayed, and angry. You lash out, you blame, you criticize, all because they didn't act out the role you've written for them in your internal drama. This cycle of unmet expectations and explosive reactions poisons the relationship, pushing away the very people you're desperately trying to keep close. Understanding what unhealthy attachment looks like is only half the battle. To truly break free, we need to understand why we become susceptible to it. It's not a character flaw, it's often a deeply ingrained pattern shaped by our past. One of the biggest culprits is our upbringing and early experiences. Think about how a child learns about the world. If, during childhood, there was neglect, emotional unavailability, or even outright abuse, a child learns that love and security are scarce commodities. They might internalize a belief that they are not inherently worthy of love, or that they must constantly fight for it. This creates a deep-seated insecurity that can manifest in adulthood as a pathological need to cling to others. Their developing brain, trying to protect itself, learns to equate intense effort and even self-denial with maintaining connection, because that connection, however flawed, was their only perceived source of safety. It's like a survival instinct that, while necessary in a difficult childhood, becomes maladaptive in adult relationships. Then there's the pervasive issue of low self-esteem. If you don't genuinely believe you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness on your own, you'll constantly seek external validation. You'll look for others to fill the void inside you, to tell you who you are and what your value is. It's a never-ending quest, because no matter how much praise or affection you receive, it won't stick if you don't believe it yourself. You're trying to build a house on sand. This constant search for validation makes you incredibly vulnerable to unhealthy attachments, as you'll cling to anyone who offers even a flicker of affirmation. And let's not forget the terrifying fear of loneliness. In a world that often celebrates partnerships and romantic love above all else, being alone can feel like a personal failure, a mark of something being wrong with you. This societal pressure, combined with our innate human desire for connection, can lead us to cling to any relationship, even if it's clearly unhealthy, toxic, or simply unfulfilling. The idea of facing the world alone, of having no one, can be so overwhelming that we tolerate situations that slowly erode our spirit, simply to avoid the perceived emptiness of solitude. We become so afraid of being by ourselves that we choose the misery of a bad relationship over the uncertainty of being single. Finally, social pressures play a huge role. Our culture, particularly through social media and entertainment, bombards us with images of perfect relationships. We see curated highlight reels of unwavering devotion, grand gestures, and unbreakable bonds. This can create an unrealistic blueprint in our minds, making us believe that constant togetherness, intense emotional fusion, and a lack of personal space are signs of true love, rather than potential red flags. We internalize the idea that our worth is tied to our relationship status, or that true love means being inseparable. This often pushes us towards behaviors that are actually detrimental to healthy connection, reinforcing the need for acceptance and belonging at any cost, even the cost of our own well-being. Recognizing unhealthy attachment is the first brave step, but transforming it requires conscious, sustained effort. It's a journey, not a destination, and it starts with a commitment to yourself. The absolute cornerstone of healing is boosting your self-esteem. You cannot truly connect with others in a healthy way until you